The Emerald Tablets, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I wonder if they're the oldest spiritual revelation to humanity on this planet. Wayne says there's not enough proof for him. I've said that to him a few times as well, but I just have this feeling in my blink that they could be the oldest revelation of truth ever given to humanity. So that's where I'm coming from. You may agree, you may disagree, and that's okay because we don't require compliance. We don't require acquiescence. We just want you to do some thinking on your own. And as Thoth tells us in this third tablet, the real way to get to know a person and the real way to wisdom is the way of debate. And debate has such a bad connotation within our modern cultures, especially when everyone's afraid to debate you. I get up here week after week, month after month, been doing it for years, and people want to tell me I'm the Antichrist. I don't know what I'm talking about. My biblical interpretations are garbage, but not one of them has ever stepped forward since the late Chris Putnam, who didn't like me any more than I liked him. Actually, I did like him, but we just couldn't, we didn't agree on anything. But he stepped to the plate and said, okay, I will debate you. And they were classic debates, but there's not many Chris Putnams left. In fact, I don't think there's any Chris Putnams left. So people can fire at me from the sidelines and shoot me in the back like the cowards they are. Am I trying to provoke someone? Yeah. If you want to debate me, you know where to find me. I'm your Huckleberry. That's just my game. Say when. And we will go and we will have a scholarly, a professional, a... That's funny, Max Vision. We will have a highly intelligent, by the rules debate. Yeah, Wendy, that's probably the truth. Anyway, let's get to it. And that's really not down a rabbit hole because Thoth talks about that. And this is brought to you by the MYSTECH movement. Please do go to my website, jeffreydarty.com, click on the MYSTECH logo, and let's get these on your wrist. They will put you back in the Schumann resonance. They will improve your life. And later on today, I'll be interviewing with Jay Campbell. First of all, Jay Campbell and I, 3 o'clock p.m. Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, one of the most important programs on YouTube, The Last Stand. And then after that, I think an hour after that, hour and a half after that, we'll be interviewing the leaders and founders of the Focus Life Force Energy, Fluffy. And go to any of our websites, rawreflections.org, serpentanddove.org, jeffreydarty.com. Click on the link. Try it out free. 15 days on your phone, 15 days on your home. And I'm telling you, you will be amazed. I think it might be a key to bringing ascension into this planet. But let's go ahead and talk about Thoth right now. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth. This is part 3, or this is tablet 3, and this is just the first part of tablet 3. And I just got a great email from a guy named Craig who bought rods from me, and he said they were the most amazing thing he's ever seen. They were powerful. They were great. And I cautioned him and said, hey, look, just make sure you don't make them your main thing. They should be confirmatory. And he just wrote back and said, yes, I see them as an amplifier of the discernment that I already have. The more I walk in alignment with the truth, the more I can walk in peace, and the clearer. I mean, it goes on, and I can't read the rest of the email. But if you do get the rods from me, we still make the divining rods. I still make them by hand, every single pair, and they are meant to be confirmatory. They're not meant to be your oracles. So just a caution, and I say that to everybody. And we talked yesterday about men being like fireflies. We all have the spark of divinity, and Scotty was talking about fireflies, and some of you in the chat room talking about fireflies and how this synchronicity lines up. It's interesting. But we start off with that spark of divinity, and we're like a firefly. But through our lives, it's our job to kindle our flames from fireflies to become what Thoth called fiery lights. And the more fire we get in us, the more freedom we get in us. The more fiery we get, the more divine we are. The more fiery we get, the more sovereign we are. The more fiery we get, the more free we are, because fire burns up ego. That's why Lord Shiva is called the destroyer, because what does he do? He burns up the ego with fire. And once your ego has been burned up, you can be created as whom you really are. So Lord Shiva is destroyer of ego and creator of the true you. Much like Toth was encouraging us to do, freedom is our destiny. Time itself is part of the trap, and you will get to the place where you will get outside of time. If you want to work with Sandra and I, we can get you into the dark night of your soul. We can get you to do the inner work. If you want to work with me, I can get you to repair your life track, your analytical mind. I can get you to exteriorize from your body. And once you know how to exteriorize from your body, it's just a matter of time before you can exteriorize yourself from time. We are set free from time, and we are asked to choose how we wish to be of service. That's in your future. Near future, if you do the work. Far future if you don't do the work, because eventually you have to. Go as you will. You're master of your destiny. This is an exciting message of hope. And we don't have to worry about burning out, but we do have to worry about fading away. If you go for it, if you try like hell, if you put pedal to the metal, if you lock and load, if you give it all you got, you won't burn out. But if you don't try anything, you just might fade away. So that brings us into tablet number 3. And the way I comment on these is I listen to them, I write this. So this is a literal word by word, line by line, intuitive interpretation, I guess you would, or commentary on the emerald tablets of Toth. And he starts off tablet 3 by saying the key of wisdom is giving. Think about that. Give and it shall be given unto you. Give and you shall receive. Ask and it'll be given unto you. The key to true wisdom is giving. Just like the key to being a fulfilled human is giving. Service to self. Even in sales, they know this. The great sales trainer Zig Ziglar, who was also a very spiritual man, used to say that the way to become the most successful in life is to help be successful in life by helping the greatest number of other people be successful. And when it comes to wisdom, and wisdom is different than knowledge. You can have all the knowledge in the world and not a lick of wisdom. Well, we call that book smart, but street dumb. You can know all of the wisdom, all of the knowledge of the ages. But if you don't have wisdom, you can be a bumbling fool, because wisdom is the application of knowledge. It's one thing to just gain knowledge. I speak 4 languages. I've got a college degree. I got a master's degree. I took this course. I took that course. But it's just information until you apply it into wisdom. Wisdom is the practical, experiential application of knowledge, and knowledge never helped anybody in and of itself. Knowledge is worthless. In fact, knowledge is deleterious. Knowledge is bad for you unless it moves into wisdom, because knowledge is the realm of ego. I know. I've done, I've been, I've seen, I've studied, I've learned. Knowledge was me. Bible college graduate, associate's degree in anthropology, 20 years as a Pentecostal preacher, over 100,000 hours of study in the biblical scriptures. Knowledge. Well, bye. That doesn't do you any good. It wasn't until all that study, all of that knowledge began to actually move into practical application of wisdom. Oh, now I get it. I had a bunch of stuff in my head, but now I got a bunch of stuff growing in my heart and coming out as a positive expression. And the more you give, the more you'll get. The only way for you to get any more, and the only way for you to learn anymore, is to give away what you have. That's why I encouraged Sandra so strongly to start her channel. That's why we encouraged Warrior Princess so strongly to start her channel. And there's been several channels started, at least partially at our exhortation and getting people to try to do it, because as you give away your wisdom, you get more. Sandra has a great saying, what she calls, I can't remember what she calls it. She calls it, I don't know what the word is, but you got to make room. If you, unless you empty out your storehouse, there's no room for any more stuff. And it's the same thing with wisdom. Don't be stingy with wisdom, because it's an inverse principle. It's counterintuitive. You think, oh, I better save my wisdom because I don't want to run out. But if you save wisdom, you don't get any more. You're playing a zero-sum game. Oh, I've learned all this, I better hold on to it. No, because if you give your wisdom away, then you get more wisdom. And here's the key, folks. You can learn from anyone and everyone. You can eat the meat and spit out the bones. I've learned truths from the most loathsome people, in my view, walking on 2 feet. And then Toth says that we can be silent before evil. He's not saying be pushed over. He's not saying be run over. He's saying just because somebody comes after you or speaks ill of you or talks down to you or attacks you, that doesn't mean you have to defend or react to every offense. Some of you say, yeah, Jeff, you need to learn that lesson a little bit more. Perhaps that's true, because I do tend to jump back when I'm pushed. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the lifetime of, bodybuilding and competitive sports and being a hockey goalie for all those years. Or I could just be honest and say it's ego. We all have egos, and to do what we do, to do what I do, Sandra does, Wayne does, Rex does, it does take some ego. But the key is that ego must be your servant, not your master. And yeah, it's something that I work with. Follow your heart and do more than is commanded, is what Toth says. Follow your heart. And I know I ride this horse all the time. It might be dead. I might still be beating it. But until you start following your heart in your life, in your work, you'll never be happy. I don't care how much money you make. If you're not doing your great basic purpose, stop doing it and start doing something else. I don't care who you're with, where you're going, what you're saying. If it's not your heart, if it's not your great basic purpose, stop doing it. Do something else. If you want to learn how to find your great basic purpose, I'd be glad to work with you. And then Toth says, do more than is commanded. I call this the law of exchange and abundance. If you do less than you're supposed to do, that's an unequal exchange. Somebody pays you for 3 hours of work, you do 2 and go to sleep for an hour. You have robbed that person. You have given an unequal exchange. If somebody pays you for 3 hours of work and you do 3 hours of work, it's an equal exchange. They paid you, you gave them. But what Toth is calling us to is, if someone pays you for 3 hours work and you need about 3 hours and 20 minutes to get it done, you go ahead and do the extra 20 minutes and don't ask for any extra money. It's called exchange in abundance. If you're in a relationship with someone and they're not doing everything exactly the way you want them to do it, you don't pull back. You keep doing and loving fully and completely, because you're there, if you're there for the right reason, to love them and to give them what's good for them, regardless of what you're getting back in return with, or regardless of how it affects you. And that's not disempowering as it seems, because the way it has to work is you got to have, we'll just use traditional, you got to have man loving woman so much that he wants the best for her, regardless of how it affects him. And then you got that same woman loving that same man in the way that she wants the best for him, regardless of how it affects her. Then it works. If it's unequal exchange, then it's not going to work. If it is exchange in abundance, it will work. These are spiritual principles. So in your relationships, do more than is commanded. In your job, do more than is commanded. In your personal interactions, do more than is commandment. Christianity's got 10 commandments. We've got a higher standard and a higher calling, ladies and gentlemen. And some are lost, and I meant the $sign there. Toth said some can't find a straight path, and he seemed to tie it to money. Now, let me say this before I start down this path. I'm not against money. I like money. I like the options that money gives me. There's nothing wrong with money. Money's not evil. Money's not the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. But some people get so wrapped up in their money, so much so that Toth said that a lot of people that have a lot of money, they can't find a straight path. And I think that is probably tied to ego. Because I've been around a lot of people that have a lot of money. And some of them, like my uncle, he's the head of a law firm. He has about 100 attorneys and staff working for him. He just bought a gorgeous multi-million-dollar house down here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. And he's got a lot of money, lots of money. And he's been married to my aunt for 30 years, maybe more. And I remember him when he was a legal student at the University of Florida, working hard, working a couple jobs, dating my aunt. I remember him working as an intern. I remember he started at the bottom, intern, law firm. And now he's running the joint. And that guy has a lot of money, but he's still the same guy that he was when he was an intern. He's still a generous guy, a fun guy, a happy guy, a funny guy, a guy that treats people like people. A lot of people that have a lot of money, especially people that have money given to them, it goes to ego. Hey, I've got it all. I don't have to listen to you. I've got it all. And they begin to look down on people. And just because you're standing on a stack of $100 bills doesn't mean you got the right to look down on someone. And if you do that, you really are lost. Because I'll tell you what, cousin, there's no trailer hitches on hearses. There's no luggage racks on a hearse. There are no U-Hauls behind hearses. I don't care how rich you are. Donald Trump ain't taking it with him, and neither are you. Bill Gates ain't taking it with him, and neither are you. Steve Jobs didn't take it with him, and neither are you. So one of these days, you're going to get knocked off that stack of dollars, and you're going to be right down with the rest of us. And it's not going to matter how many zeros win your bank account if there's a zero in your soul, cousin. And conversely, it doesn't matter how many zeros are in your bank account if there's not a zero in your soul. Ego makes people lost. Love makes people found. It's the beginning and the end, said Toth, among mankind. And another thing about money, and another thing about ego, it gives you to what Toth called extravagant speech. He said, don't listen to extravagant speech. Don't listen to people that got to tell you how good they are, how strong they are, how powerful they are, what they got, what they can do, where they don't listen to that. It's foolishness. It's egoic. And if you catch yourself doing it, slap yourself. Just give yourself a good slap. It'll anchor the idea that you shouldn't be doing that. And we've all done that before, and we just have to realize that we need to stop doing it because, as Toth says, if you don't stay humble, you will be humbled. If we get too high and mighty, we will be brought low. Now, it may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. It might not even be in this lifetime, but you will be humbled. You may cheat the house this time around. You may trollop along life, along life, and skip by this time. But cousin, you may pay him now, you may pay him later, but sooner or later that bill comes due. And also, folks, you got to realize we sit there and we look, and we shouldn't, but we're human, and we say, man, why does she get away with what she does and doesn't have any recompense in this life? It's not fair. Why does he get to do what he does and never get any recompense in this life? Where's his comeuppance? It's not fair. You don't know what's going on behind the closed doors. And you certainly don't know what's going on within the heart and the mind and the soul and the spirit of that individual. You don't know the anxiety. You don't know the worry. You don't know the guilt. You don't know the pain. You don't know the shame. You don't know the self-loathing. People can hide a lot of stuff. So don't wish that those that oppose you would get humbled, because that is not humble for you. That's why we talk about calling down favor on your enemies or calling down favor on those that oppose you. It'll keep you humble. I don't like to do it. My flesh doesn't like to do it one bit, but my spirit embraces it. My spirit embraces it because it humbles me. To actually voice the words, I call down favor on my enemy, it's impossible for it not to humble you. And even as you say it, you can feel your vibrations rise. And it's not about them, it's about you. And Toth says debate is the best way to know a person, not hearsay. That doesn't even need to be commented on. And Toth encourages you to find a confidant. Find somebody that you can go to, share your ideas, share your deepest intentions and intuitions, and have them help you evaluate it. I've got one real person like that in my life and a couple of 3 others. And may I just say, Toten said this, but be careful. Be careful who you have as a confidant. Be careful who you tell your deepest intents and desires. Be careful. I just got an email from President Trump as we just talked about it. And know the fire within yourself. Toth says it's the most potent of all forces. Well, Jeff, I'm not very fiery. Maybe that's why you're not very potent. Let the fire within you burn, because it's there to burn up your ego. And I think this is the last slide. It is. This is the last slide, and this is a really good one. You know, we talk about the spiritual axiom, and I want to thank Stephen Harefield, Dr. Stephen Harefield, for teaching me this, and he's going to come on the show at some point again. He taught me the axiom and the truism that resistance equals persistence. And mainly we think of that in a negative fashion. Well, if I continue to resist my enemy is going to continue, to persist. We only think about it in overcoming obstacles sometimes, but the reality is that Toth gives us a whole new perspective on resistance and persistence, because persistence in the face of resistance is really what living's all about. Persistence in the face of resistance is really what growing's all about. Persistence in the face of resistance is really what ascension's all about, because it's only in overcoming obstacles that you can grow. I often use an analogy of, I did a little rock climbing in my time. I don't have the body type for it. It's very difficult for me. But I was up there one day trying to climb this rock, and I'm realizing that, cousin, it's really, really hard to climb a smooth rock. It's tough. You got to have a crack somewhere that you can get your fingers into. You got to have a crack somewhere that you can get your boot into. You got to have this little jagged edge sticking out that you can grab. You can't climb a smooth stone, and you can't ascend in a perfectly smooth life. You must have resistance in order to grow and develop. We only think of resistance equaling persistence in a negative way. But here's a great truth and a great revelation for us. It's the resistance in our life that teaches us how to be persistent. If you never had any resistance in your life, you would never learn how to be persistent. And that's why some of these people, going back here, some of these people born with, some of these people born with the silver spoons, lacking the brass in their boxers because they've never met any real resistance, because their money can cover them on everything. That's why they don't really live lives. That's why they don't really overcome, or they don't get anywhere, because they've never had to resist. They've never had any resistance. So thank the gods for the resistance that comes into your life. I'm not saying celebrate it. I'm not saying ask for more of it. But the gods know you. They know what you're here to do. They know what they want you to do. And they send you the resistance that you need to gain the persistence that you've got to have to get to where they want you to go, and to get to where you being whom you want to be. And every now and then, Sandra says something to me that I think is kind of woo-woo. Okay. The other day, she said something to me about the different flames, the 7 flames or something. I'm like, oh boy. Like the first time she said something about Fluffy, I'm like, oh boy. And now I'm paying for 4 or 5 accounts. First time she said something about twin flames, I'm like, oh boy. And now I'm in the middle of a Destiny twin flame relationship and talking to me about different colors of flame. I'm like, oh boy. And now here's Toth saying there are different colors of eternal flame, because we burn at different colors as we move through our resistance, our persistence. We burn in different colors as we grow and develop, and we burn in different colors as we're burning up different aspects of our ego. We're burning red, we're burning orange, we're burning blue, we're burning green, we're burning yellow, we're burning platinum, we're burning gold. Sandra's doing a show. She did a show, and I think she might do more about the 7 colors of flames. And yeah, she's right. I was wrong. Imagine that. Let's see if I can find that real quickly, because it's something that you should listen to. It is kind of woo-woo, and it's kind of like, But as you listen to it, and as you see that Toth talked about it, you kind of say, well, maybe I should give that a little bit of a consideration. So, I stand corrected, and I think it is something that we can look at, something that we can learn from. And I'm pretty sure she did it. I don't know if she just talked about it. Yeah, here it is. She actually did do it. Hello. She did the, let me show you this so you can get to the channel and watch this show. The 7 flames, the 7 rays of intention to manifest, reach high to vibe high. She did it back on June 10th. So go to her channel and watch this show, and go to her channel and watch other shows. Her channel, of course, is Raw Reflections. And if you want to go to her website and work with her, maybe if you want to work for her too, you can find all of your information here. You can start working with Sandra today. So there you go. Part 1 of the 3rd Emerald tablet that many people call the Emerald Tablets of Toth. So let's get back into the chat room. You've listened to me ramble on for 26 minutes. Let me see what you have to say. Lightning bugs, BS religion, spiritual meaning of fireflies. Ooh, I got to see this. What's the spiritual meaning of fireflies? Sandra, you have done it again. Let's take a look at this. This is really interesting. The spiritual meaning of fireflies. Animal totem symbolism. Brought to you by Sandra D. I really do need all these cats. It's funny. As a creature of light, it should come no surprise that the firefly is a symbol of illumination. They're majestic, underappreciated insects because of their ordinary, uninspiring appearance during daytime hours. However, as darkness falls, they turn into remarkable and beautiful illuminators of the night. Wow. This is amazing. Firefly-associated traits, passion, guidance, self-illumination, freedom. That's exactly what we're talking about. That's exactly what Toth has been talking about. Fireflies have the meaning of abundance, positive, inspiring messages that should be internalized and never forgotten. This is exactly what we're talking about. Our physical appearance doesn't say who we are. Fireflies reiterate that the light has an elaborate purpose that can't be ignored. And how about this? If your light burns, you'll attract the right mate. The spiritual totem's message dictates that we must be conscious, pay attention to intricacies, plan and react accordingly in order to attract desirable people, places, and things in our life. That is really good stuff. Thank you so much, Sandra, for bringing that to my attention and sharing that with the chat room. That's some really, really good stuff. Nigel says he's a twin flame of a twin flame. No fade into shades of gray for me. Good job, Wendy. Lightning bugs, fireflies are big in Indiana. Catherine loved working at Macy's. Sales is hard. That's why you get paid real good if you can do it. It's all about frequency. Ask and it shall be given. Put it out, get it back. So easy. Knowledge without wisdom is pure frustration. I got a GED. That's about it. Well, that's all you need, brother. Your Jesuit knowledge is now producing incredible results. What? I ain't no Jesuit. You can't give what you haven't got. Sandra says you can't keep something good unless we give it away. Absolutely. You're welcome, but loathsome is a little harsh. You can't teach anyone. You can only help them learn. That's true. Go the extra mile, getting jacked. Only one commanment's needed. Don't be an a-hole. That's a good one. That's a good one. Most wealthy people despise folks without money and are miserable. It's the Babylonian money spell. Robert, I think you're right. It is a spell. It actually is a spell. Sandra says, flesh pronounced backwards to self. So in other words, flesh pronounced backwards to self. I don't really, oh, it is kind of self, isn't it? H-S-E-L-F. I got it. In other words, pleasure of self. Flesh is the pleasure of self. That's very interesting. Wow, I never saw that. Pleasures of the flesh, nothing to do with sex. H, self. So if you're really into self, it really becomes a hatred of self, because if you're into self, you're into ego and you can't be who you're supposed to be. Very interesting. I just want to leave my children with my gifts of spirit. Yep. Camping trips, alien spelt backwards is Neil A. Rock climbing. Yep. Move from the H, remove the H from Earth and you get heart. I like it. H is the symbol of what planet? Where's my Cards of Truth notebook? One planet looks like an H. Is it Saturn? That would be pretty remarkable if it was Saturn. It is Saturn. How about that? Let's go back to where Sandra was talking about flesh. Backwards. Flesh, the flesh is really about Saturn and selfishness, because Saturn looks like an H. The symbol for Saturn, it looks a lot like an H. So the H and self, it's fleshy, it's self, it's selfish. And then if you get over here again to Earth, if you take the H off, if you take the Saturn out, you have, oh, you need the H for heart, don't you? Oh, well, pretty interesting, though. The mom's view sees that misuse, lust, and hate of money is wrong. Yep. Healthy, it's a root of evil to not respect or love money. That's interesting. We get lied to about everything we do. 7 rays. If I don't get an invite to the wedding. Oh, that's funny. Sandra's doing a session. Good to see you, sweetheart. Talk to you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's the third tablet, part 1. I hope we did get your wheels turning, Jerry. And I look forward to bringing you more information and more revelation just as soon as I get it. Thanks to you all. I salute you for being here. And for Sandra D., I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, reminding you that you're divine, you're sovereign, and you're free. All that's left is for you to unindoctrinate yourself, and that, my friends, is an inside job. I appreciate you being here. I offer you much love and light, and can't wait to see you again. Remember, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, Jay Campbell, The Last Stand, and I believe it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern, the founders of the Focus Life Force Energy. I'll be part of the panel with Jay Campbell, interviewing those gentlemen. And don't miss it. It's going to be fantastic. Good to see you. Talk to you again real soon. Listen to this again, internalize it, and it'll be good for you.